The Beyond the Fame podcast is fed by Lido Pizza. Lido Pizza never cuts corners. For menu and locations, visit LidoPizza.com. And of course, this podcast would not be possible without our longtime title sponsor, the Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia. Upcoming featured entertainment includes Bret Michaels' Birthday Bash on April 11th and Earthquake on April 12th. Details and tickets at HollywoodCasinoCharlestown.com. Must be 21 to enter the casino floor and attend a show. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. Brad Tercey, lead guitarist of the country band Old Dominion, brings his solo tour to Rams Head in Annapolis, Maryland on April 16th, and Wolf Trap in Vienna, Virginia on April 17th, before the band rocks Merriweather Post Pavilion in Columbia, Maryland on July 18th. He joined me to discuss his solo album, Parallel Love, as well as his journey with Old Dominion, which has roots right here in Virginia before moving to Nashville for hits like Break Up With Him, No Such Thing as a Broken Heart, Make It Sweet, and One Man Band. Hey, Brad Tercey of Old Dominion. Hey, thank you so much for joining the show today.
Oh, thanks so much for having me.
We are talking, as I said, of Old Dominion, the lead guitarist, typically when you're touring with the band, which will be coming to Merriweather later this summer in Columbia, Maryland. But this time, baby, it's a solo tour. You, Brad Tercey, are coming to Rams Head in Annapolis, Maryland on April 16th. And then the next night on April 17th, you'll be down in Vienna, Virginia at the awesome Wolf Trap venue. I know. So this is, like I said, this is like an acoustic solo tour. I guess you just released your first solo album, I guess Parallel Love, like over, I guess, last summer, I guess. So do you play that start to finish? Do you sprinkle in any of, your version of the Old Dominion hits, or what do we got set list wise?
I definitely play the whole record, the whole Parallel Love record, and I'll definitely play some songs that I have recorded that aren't out yet. So I'm working on another record now, and if everyone really is nice to me, maybe I'll play a little one-man band or something like that at the end. But I try to leave Old Dominion out of it.
Your little one-man band at the end, but that actually is fitting because now the solo tour, you are a one-man band.
I know, isn't that funny?
It works.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. But we do want to remind everyone, like, yes, it's like parallel projects, right? Because you are going to be, like I said, at Merriweather this summer for the Old Dominion fans of the band, but you're also this parallel track doing solo. Is it pretty easy to take one hat on or off? Does it work pretty seamless for you, or is it an interesting, it's a relatively new challenge for you?
Yeah, there's so many great things about it. I mean, number one, I'm getting to kind of basically start all over again without really as much pressure. This is just purely really artistic, and luckily I have Old Dominion to, as my plan B. Just kidding. It's just been great to go back into these smaller rooms, and because even as a band now, Old Dominion, we love, like, when we get to go to Europe and we get to play these smaller venues, and it kind of takes us back to where we came from. So I'm getting to do that all over again right now, which is really awesome, and for me to be able to kind of scratch this creative itch, I think it makes me a better band member also. I can kind of go back and just fully immerse in Old Dominion, and when I come over here, I get to do whatever I want to. So it's been great.
It's awesome. And then let's pretend that some listeners here, maybe they're Old Dominion fans or not, but they're just discovering Brad Tercey's solo stuff, Parallel Love, for the first time. Do you want to plug a song or two that would maybe be a good first one for them to dive in? Maybe if they pull it up on YouTube or Spotify. Yeah, like I want to give you the floor to you to plug some of your original
stuff. Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, it kind of runs the gamut. I don't know, the song that kind of coming to my mind right now is called Question the Universe. It's sort of it's almost like a trippy Elton Johnish sort of deal. It's sort of rambling lyric, and that's probably the most departed from Old Dominion for sure. And then other songs, like I think Where You Been, and obviously Church Bells and Train Whistles is sort of kind of the lead single off of it. So that kind of bridges a little bit more of the gap between the modern country and what I do, which is a little more on the folk side of things.
Well, we invite everyone to check it out before they head out to the concert, or if you want to go in blind and enjoy a surprise in Annapolis and Virginia, you can do it that way. All right, cool. Well, so this is typically, obviously, if you're coming to the DMV as we call it, typically this would be like a bit of a homecoming when you come with the Old Dominion guys. Obviously, in the name Old Dominion, the name of Virginia, the nickname, and because I think what four of the guys have ties to Virginia. But you were born in Connecticut in '79, so memories of sort of growing up there. Like, what were your musical touchstones? What did you listen to growing up? I always love to hear which bands inspired the bands that we listen to now, but I want to know what you were listening to when you were coming up.
Yeah, I mean, God, like what first got me into music, I think was probably the Allman Brothers. I remember
Ah, yeah.
hearing that song Blue Sky in the car with my mom, being like, "What is this?" And she's like, "Oh, this is the Allman Brothers." And then I really got like bit by the Guns N' Roses. I wanted to be Slash growing up. So that's why I bought a Les Paul, my first guitar, and but lots of like Southern rock. The Black Crowes, the Allman Brothers, of course, going through the early days of learning how to play the guitar, the Allman Brothers and Stevie Ray Vaughan and some other blues guys like that. And, a lot of my influences growing up were James Taylor, Neil Young, a lot of more sort of folky, sort of acoustic based music. And obviously James Taylor, who, if you don't know, it's very complicated, his songs and the way he plays the guitar, but he makes it sound easy, but
Yeah.
those are very intricate parts too. So that's kind of what I grew up listening to in Connecticut. But I also, I went to James Madison for school in Virginia in Harrisonburg.
Oh, so you do have
So,
you do have a Virginia tie for
oh
college.
yeah, then
Yeah.
yeah, I lived in Richmond after that, and I also lived in D.C. I lived in Mount Pleasant,
I
D.C.
had no idea. All right.
Yeah, yeah,
Do
man.
you remember the cross streets? Our listeners will be really interested. They'll go look up your
Oh
old houses.
God. I mean, I don't not in DC. I remember it was in
Yeah.
Mount Pleasant, sort of,
Yeah.
right above the Adams Morgan there.
Right.
There's a lot of like sort of like Latin groceries and stuff like that. I mean, this
Yeah.
was like 20
Oh,
some
yeah.
years ago, so it was a long time. We would play the Black Cat, which is that still there? The Black
Oh,
Cat?
yeah. Oh, yeah. That's an all. Yeah. Did you do Black Cat? Did you 930? I want to know
Oh
which
yeah,
venues you played. Yeah.
9:30. Yeah, all that stuff, man. Yeah, 9:30 Club is awesome. What a great spot. And
I
yeah,
I assume
so
that would have been at the old location because they moved recently to a slightly bigger, but yeah.
yeah. I mean, I haven't been back there in years, but
And then
it's
At JMU, I mean, I guess you could road trip up to DC, not too far. But were there any music venues that you either played at down there early on, or that you went and watched other bands at?
I mean, I was in a band at JMU, and we would play Main Street Bar and Grill. We would play the High Lawn Pavilion, which I mean, I don't even know if either of those places are still around, to be honest with you. But it was great, man. It was definitely a big part of the journey, to where I am. A couple of us, Whit Sellers and Jeff Sprung, the other two guys in Old Dominion, they went to James Madison too, so we kind of met each other there.
Okay, so that's how the band came together was at JMU. And what was that early band called?
Well, the band, I was in a band called Key Theory, like KI Theory, was kind of like a modern rock sort of band. And
Okay.
and then Whit and Jeff were in a band called the Small Town Workers. That was kind of more of like a roots rock band. So we
Got
would play shows together all the time, even down in Charlottesville. We played tracks, and but there's another little bar down there that I
it. Yeah.
can't remember where it is, what it's called. But
Uh,
yeah, so we kind of all met there, and grew up playing together and stuff.
okay, cool. So you, Whit Sellers, the drummer, and Jeff Sprung, bass guitarist, and of course your lead guitar. You all met at JMU, and then so how do you meet Matthew Ramsey, the lead vocalist, and Trevor Rosen, rhythm and keys? Because I believe you all officially formed as Old Dominion in Nashville in like 2007. But how did you meet? Add those other very important pieces and officially form the band then?
Yeah, I mean, we went. Whit and Matt went to middle school, or like rival middle schools together. They both grew up in Botetourt County or something like that. So they know each other even from longer ago.
Uh,
Um, and then I guess Matt Ramsey, he had his own little solo thing, and he used to come and watch the Small Town Workers. But I didn't really meet Matt until after I moved to Nashville. And
ah.
Trevor met Matt on stage in like a writers round, and they started writing together. And then
That's
those guys
ironic
were all,
because Matt was from Buchanan, Virginia, and he went to VCU. So that's
yeah,
interesting that you were going to college all around the same time, but it took going to Nashville to actually run into each other.
yeah, totally. It was a long road to finally meet, but it was awesome, and we're lucky to have such old friends, and we're lucky that we still all get along, and we still all ride the same bus and
Yeah.
laugh and have a great time. So we're pretty lucky.
So you ride around in the same bus, but you first got into music because listening to the line "Born in the back seat of a Greyhound bus." Rolling down
That's right. That's right.
uh,
I gotta say, even whenever I see a tour bus drive by the highway, I always get a little excited. I'm like, oh, look at that thing. It is something about it that's very alluring.
it's rambling man time.
That's right.
Oh, that's great. Well, we kind of hit on the name then. So that's natural then. You're all in Nashville and you're like, wait a minute, you're from Virginia? You're from Virginia? Let's call it that. I love it. It's a little shout out to us here back here in hometown. All
It's
right. So then Old Dominion, I mean, if we're kind of going let's keep going chronologically. I do want to hit all the big songs because you've been a key part of a lot of them. So that Old Dominion's debut album, Meat and Candy in 2015 had several big hits. People look them up, folks. You'll remember Snapback. You'll remember Song for Another Time. But my personal favorite off that was Break Up with Him. And I remember when it came on the radio, it was kind of a departure from usual what you'd be hearing in the country at the time because it was kind of like, spoken lyrics, right? It was like, "Hey girl, what's up?" And then then it gets melodic, but there's even some rapping almost like the fast-paced lyrics. So, take me into the idea of, shaking things up with that and making it a little different than just, melodic, country singing. There was a little speak sing in that.
right. I mean, there was a lot of, that was just something that we were all kind of doing at that point, just writing and being writers. And even we had another song called Dirt on the Road that
Yeah.
preceded Break Up with Them that definitely had a little rap element to it. But yeah, I mean, that song started at a Cole's picnic. We were playing some Cole's private party for
Wait,
under
Kohl's, like the big box store
yeah,
Kohl's.
like the department store. So we were just like setting up, kind of just jamming at sound check, and we kind of came up with that groove. And then later on that night, Matt and Trevor, I think, were in the back seat when we were driving the tour ever through the night, and they were kind of like, I guess Matt had that idea for the one-sided phone conversation. So they were kind of in the back of the van, whispering whatever they were, getting that verse going, and then we ended up finishing it all together down at our friend's ranch in Texas. Yeah, and I think it just kind of came out like you said. It didn't sound like anything else, and that coupled with a message that I think a lot of people need to hear, I can relate to. It definitely turned our career from nothing to something for sure.
Oh yeah, relatable. I know that you're so done with him. Break up with him. Break up with him. It's one of those great, like, hey, you should be with me. It's
Yeah.
great. And thank you for the tidbit. I didn't know it was inspired by a Coles event, and it made you. I wonder if anyone's ever if that song was ever then subsequently played at Coles over the speakers. You know what I mean? That would have been a
Maybe.
full circle moment. Uh,
Yeah.
well, it was a big hit. It made you plenty of Coles cash. uh, and you all won Best New Vocal Duo Group at the ACMs in 2016, I guess, off of that. So you're off to the races at that point. All right, let's go into the second album, Happy Endings, 2017. Also huge with Written in the Sand and Hotel Key. Also very famous. Again, but my personal favorite off that is No Such Thing as a Broken Heart. You gotta love like there's no such thing. So yeah, take me into the inspiration behind that. We'll juxtapose it. So if break up with him is you're not with the love of your life yet, but you want her to break up with the guy and come with you. So this one, No Such Thing as a Broken Heart, is once you're in the relationship, you're giving us advice on how we gotta love like there's no like caution to the wind, right? Is that sort of the idea?
Yeah, I mean, that song we kind of wrote from the beginning. We didn't really have a title. I think it started with the first line. I wonder if Jack and Diane ever made it, and then we just kind of kept writing and writing. And then I think Trevor said that line, you gotta love like it's broken heart. And we're like, oh yeah, that's the idea. So that one kind of came in. A lot of times you get the idea and then you write the song, but this one kind of came just from the beginning, and then we found our way to that idea.
I love that the line opens. That's actually a genius idea. I wonder if Jack and Diane
Ain't
ever
it? That's a
because
great line.
we all know the little ditty about them, the American kids growing in the
Mhm.
heartland. We know sort of the backstory. We know Jackie wanted to be a football star, but we don't know what ever became of them.
That's right. That's
Uh,
right.
by the way, I interviewed Mellencamp's longtime guitarist Mike Wanchick. A couple, if people want to look that up in our archives, was he a big inspiration as far as being a guitarist?
I don't know if he was a big influence as far as that, but I mean, definitely that style of music. That's just kind of that
Yeah.
southern rocky, rootsy vibe. I mean, that's kind of my favorite sort of music. So I love that stuff. So you can't help but be influenced by those songs.
Absolutely. All right, moving right along. So then I guess you win Vocal Group of the Year again in 2018 at the ACMs and at the CMAs. So like all the award shows, it's like, all right, if there's a group category, we're giving it to Old Dominion for a couple years in a row. And
Yeah.
then of course, then the self-titled third album, Old Dominion in 2019, might just be the biggest of them all yet, at least like in terms of like radio hits. There's so many, like Make It Sweet, Stuck on You, Stuck on Me, Never Gotta Wonder Women. I love that song. It also had Grammy nominated Some People Do, which was like a serious one. You know, it's like some people, I guess they stopped drinking so much and decided to grow. Like that was a cool spin too. So hats off on both of those. But again, my favorite one, you referenced it earlier off of that, is One Man Band. You said you might be playing it, never know. um Let's go into why that song's so special. It's really important to my wife and I too. I guess came out around the time we met too. But so many songs are, across all genres, really. Whether it's the bro country or rap or whatever. So many or rock. So many of them are about trashing the hotel rooms and fast life on the road and all the womanizing, etc. But what was special about this one is that it was the complete opposite. This one you're singing about no, like I want someone to share it all with, you know what I mean? So, is that why you think it stood out? It was a complete 180 from what we're used to hearing.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think again, it's just a topic that people can relate to. Nobody wants to be alone. Everyone wants to find their partner that they can share life with. And yeah, I mean, again, I think it's another one of those things where we write hundreds and hundreds of songs, and we think they're good because we put them on the record, but you can never really know whether it's going to react like that one did. And that one immediately just had something special that people really latched onto. So it's always nice when you can put one of those out. You can get lucky.
Not only is it catchy and singable with the melody, but the words, I just feel like there's like some poetry in all the lyrics in there, you know? It just starts with been flying solo for so long, but nobody's singing a
Yeah.
harmony. Up there, just me and my shadow. No bass, no guitar, no tamper. You can picture it. There's literally a guy on stage. And then as you go into the chorus, it's sort of like the answer to the, Bob Dylan said, "How does it feel to be a Rolling Stone?" And but you are like, I don't want to be a Rolling Stone alone, putting all the run down there.
Yeah, man. Even us rock and rollers, we still want someone to come home to.
Absolutely, absolutely. What was it inspired by one band member's, like relationship with somebody, or was there
No,
a
it was
general
honestly.
theme?
I think it was like we were having some people on the bus, just like a couple guests before the show, and one of them said something about a one man band, and I think Ramsey he leaned over to me and said, "That's a good title.
Yeah.
We should write that song." So then we actually ended up writing it in the Denver Broncos dressing room when we were on tour with
Really?
Kenny Chesney. Yeah, so yeah, we wrote it in the dressing room, and that's it. It used to be kind of like the way we wrote it was kind of this bouncy reggae sort of feel, but then I kind of came up with that guitar part for how it starts now, so it really changed once we got it into the studio. We kind of mellowed it out a little bit.
I always like to hear which parts you came up with. What? And the Denver Broncos. Who? All right. So yeah, one of the first hits started in a Coles event, and then this one was in the Denver Broncos locker room. You never know when inspiration is gonna strike.
You never know, man. That you got to roll.
John Elway putting yards on the field. That's
Yeah,
great.
totally. So it's it's a good story.
That is great. Do the Broncos do they carry a special affinity for that song, or do they don't even really remember that's where?
I don't know. They don't say anything to us, so I'm not sure. Maybe you could find out for us.
Yeah. And wait, so you're a Connecticut. So what was your team, or was there any Burgundy and gold once you came to JMU, or do you have like New England allegiances?
No, I'm not. I'm kind of like I root for whoever people want me to root for.
Very diplomatic answer.
Yeah, I mean, back when I used to play football, maybe the Giants, but that was forever ago. The team I really cared about most when I was younger was the Mets.
Okay. Was it like Darryl Strawberry or
that whole year? Yeah.
Gotcha. And the Giants would have been like Lawrence Taylor. So there were some glory days back there in like the 80s. All right, well, back on track. All right, so after that, of course, like I said, you win Vocal Group of the Year again. I feel like Forrest Gump. I went to the White House again. You win it again at the ACMs and the CMAs in 2019. I guess the ACMs again in 2020. So again, you see that category. It's like, all right, Old Dominion's probably going to win it. And that's tees up the fourth album, Time, Tequila, and Therapy in 2021. I was on a boat that day. It was big. That reminds me a little of Brad Paisley's I'm Gonna Miss Her. He's going fishing. You're on a boat. No hard feelings. It was pretty big, but was that a pandemic record, I guess? Take me into putting that together at a crazy time. You're dominating. You're on the top of the country world. Suddenly the world shuts down, and then you have an album come out, I guess a year into that crazy time in 2021. So yeah, was that was there any like remote sessions to put that together?
Oh yeah, I mean that's kind of what we decided to do. Is we all went to Asheville, North Carolina, and just kind of everyone got their COVID test, and we were all negative. So then we just holed up in the studio there for 3 weeks, and
yeah,
we actually went in and we had no songs. So every morning we would write a song, and then we would go record it in the afternoon. So that was a pretty cool way to make a record. It's just really pure creativity from start to finish of the day. From nothing to writing a song to recording it all in one day.
Absolutely. Well, I almost feel like we've all had to compartmentalize and like file that trauma, that just the craziness that we all as a world went through together of everything. Because now we're back out doing stuff and you're touring, but I feel like there's like a little file back in our filing cabinet of our brain where we've all kind of had to just like suppress that and how crazy that was. We haven't even fully, I think, grappled with what all we went through with that. But I'm glad you guys put that album out. All right, and then things are back. I guess to round it out, the fifth album, the most recent one, I guess for the band at least. You got your solo one now, but Memory Lane was in 2023, so relatively recently. Huge title track. Also, Megan Moroney collab on Can't Break Up Now. I think you did a Blake Shelton collab on that as well. So yeah, at this point, I guess you guys are so huge that you have the likes of Megan and Blake like wanting to do collabs with you. That's got to be a really special feeling. They're probably reaching out to you.
Well, actually, that time we Blake actually he always says that we are his favorite band. Not like of all time. He says that, which I don't
really of all time.
I don't know if I believe him or not, but
wow,
that's what he said.
What the Allman Brothers were to you, you're to Blake, I guess.
Yeah, right. So he's such a nice guy, and so that was pretty easy. We were recording in the same studio, and he just went right over and he put his vocal on it. That was easy. Megan, we had to reach out to. That song had been around for a while, and we just hadn't found the right, person to we felt like what we wanted to do with. But she's such a great writer and a great singer, and she's having a great moment now. So it was nice to get together with her for sure.
Yeah, instead of Tennessee orange wearing for her, you were wearing the Broncos orange apparently. It's just my brain firing synapses trying to tie random things you've said together. Sorry, folks.
I see that.
Yeah, puns intended, but probably shouldn't be. All right, and then before we wrap it up, bring it back around to your solo tour here. I guess a good segue from working with Blake and Megan Moroney, you've also, I want to remind folks, you've written some pretty cool tunes for a bunch of other artists as well. Luke Bryan, Cole Swindell, Kenny Chesney, Josh Turner. My wife and I love the Randy Rogers Band. You've written stuff for them too. So, do you ever sprinkle those into your solo tour as well? Because sometimes you'll go here. I'm trying to think of an example. Maybe like a Phil Vassar or something who will play his own hits, but then he's like, oh, and by the way, I wrote this one too. And there's like a million he wrote for other people. Have you ever thought about adding that into your solo tour?
Yeah, I don't really do that right now. I keep it pretty purely just, the songs that are on the record or songs that I've been writing for this new record. And then, like I said, maybe a little one-man band in there. But, we did that. We did that in Old Dominion. We had a section where we played songs we wrote for other people, and it is fun to do. But you won't hear that at the solo show. It'll just be just my stuff, and and the stuff I've been working on, and I'm excited. It's always so fun to I have a new band that's coming with me, and it's just been fun to play with these other musicians and feel music that's different and make it with different people and play it for different people. And I'm really looking forward to the show. So hopefully y'all come out and check them out.
Yes, everybody You have to come out and check out Brad Tersey, lead guitarist of Old Dominion, at Ram's Head in Annapolis, Maryland on April 16th, and Wolf Trap in Vienna, Virginia on April 17th, because you got to hear the solo stuff. We got to support all the different members of the band. I assume, are any of the other ones doing, I guess I should ask, are any of the other guys doing solo stuff? Or are you sort of the one-man band on that?
Not that I know of yet. I think I was the first one to branch out,
Yeah.
But who knows? You never know what a
Blaze that trail. Blaze
yeah,
that.
exactly.
Awesome.
Someone's got to do it. Might as well be me.
Might as well be the lead guitarist. You're always the lead. You're leading.
Yes.
Slash would be proud of you after all these years.
I never got to meet Slash. Maybe one of these days I'll get.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be listening to this and say, and he'll call you up. We can hope. No, that's fantastic. No, you've put together. I mean, we just listed a bunch. You've put together quite a career of cool guitar riffs yourself. So, congrats, mad respect. Everyone, check them out again in Annapolis at Ram's Head on April 16th, and Wolf Trap in Virginia on April 17th. And then of course, I guess later this summer, July 18th, you'll be back with the boys of Old Dominion, the full band, to do Merriweather in Columbia. But you got to come to these solo shows first. You have to, everybody.
You have to. It's the only way you can get into the Old Dominion show.
Yeah, exactly. You'll punch a ticket, and then they have to scan a QR code or something.
I like this idea.
This is the gateway. You have to go to these first. I guess I should ask, do you have any JMU folks in the final seconds coming up to these gigs? Because like Wolf Trap, that's not a far drive at all for the JMU folks.
Yeah, there's probably a couple guys I went to school with that are coming out for sure. Yeah, I'll see some familiar faces.
There you go. So if you liked them at the Highland Pavilion at JMU, you have to come to the Wolf Trap.
A long time ago.
Hey, thank you so much for doing this, Brad. It was awesome meeting you. You seem like an awesome guy. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you too.
Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Our theme music is Scott Buckley's Clarion. Remember to give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time.